Yo, how's it going? To be back in the video, and today I'm talking about how the Miami Heat have a very underrated roster and one of the more disrespected teams in the entire NBA. And this isn't even coming from a Miami Heat fan. I'm from New Orleans, I'm a Pelicans fan, and I think the Miami Heat have to be one of the most disrespected teams in the entire NBA over like the past 3 to 4 years. And I'll be getting into a few reasons why I think that. So if that does sound interesting to you at any point, hit the like button, subscribe button, it would mean the absolute word to me. Without further ado, without running on too much, let's get right into this video. So the first thing I want to get to for this video is going to be the Miami Heat's track record ever since the 2019 NBA season, as they have made the playoffs every single year since 2019, and they have not only just made the playoffs, but they have made absolute strides pretty much every single year except for one. As in 2019, the bubble year, they were able to make it all the way to the NBA Finals, where they lost to the LeBron James-led Lakers in only 6 games. It was a fairly competitive series. Jimmy Butler was doing pretty much everything, but he just can't 1v5 the Lakers, and they ended up losing in 6 games. But nonetheless, it was still very respectable that they were even able to make it to that point, because no one had Miami making the finals at all. That was still before Miami was even thought to be a top Eastern Conference team, and they proved everybody wrong in the bubble, and they made it all the way to the NBA Finals. And even them making it to 6 games was unexpected. They were expected to get swept or losing 5 or something like that, and they were able to push it to 6 games. So it was very respectable in 2019 what they were able to do that year. But then in 2020, they did make the playoffs again, but unfortunately they would lose in the first round. But it was also to the Milwaukee Bucks, who would go on to win the NBA Finals that year. So it kind of doesn't look that bad anymore, because they lost to the eventual Finals champions. And although that series wasn't all that close, the Bucks kind of dominated almost everyone in the playoffs that year. So even the Phoenix Suns in the finals. So it's not that bad that they were lost to the Milwaukee Bucks in the first round in 2020. And then you fast forward to this year, they were able to go all the way to the Eastern Conference Finals, where they went in a very close 7-game series to the Boston Celtics, and it wasn't even close. The Celtics were very heavily favored over the Miami Heat. But really, that almost plays into what the Miami Heat believe, as the Miami Heat fully believe that it is them against the world no matter what, and that's kind of how it's been for the past few years for the Miami Heat, because all the media members never give them credit in the Eastern Conference. They never consider them legit finals contenders, despite them in the past 3 years making it to 2 Eastern Conference Finals, 1 NBA Finals, and making the playoffs all 3 years. So it is very impressive what they have done, and they have experienced way more success than about 98% of the NBA since in those 3 years, and they don't get any respect for it. Even going into this season, people still aren't considering them even close to finals like favorites coming out of the Eastern Conference. They have people like the Bucks out of there, even Brooklyn still, if they keep Kevin Durant and Kyrie, which that's a whole situation. And then other just high level Boston Celtics, other high level Eastern Conference teams, they're all putting above the Miami Heat. And I wouldn't have been too opposed to that if this was about 2 years ago, because I thought the 2019 thing was a fluke. But after 2 years of consistent success, and then another year of a very high playoff success and almost making the finals for a second time in 3 years, I have to give it to them and have to say that the Miami Heat are just a very good team, and are going to be finals contenders for as long as they have Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo on their team. So I think for sure they need to start getting more respect due to their track record and how they have experienced so much more success than the vast majority of other NBA teams have in the past 3 years. Now, the second thing I want to get for this video is going to be how underrated their roster actually is. Their roster is built in a very unique and interesting way, as Pat Riley and Eric Spoelstra have this kind of mindset that everyone that they have on their team needs to be able to work very hard, play very hard, play with tons of heart, and just really hustle at all times and give 110%. And that is exactly how they built this roster, from the stars to the role players. As if you look at their star talent that they have superstar leader like Jimmy Butler, who although is the leader and by far the best player and can win you a game by himself when he wants to, he is an absolute beast on the defensive end. He always outworks everyone, and he is just a perfect leader for this Miami Heat team. And then Bam Adebayo is also a lockdown defender, an absolute beast in the paint, one of the best rim protectors in the entire NBA. He's a very good rebounder, and he can give you 20 points a game. He's a top 5 center, and he is the same way. He works very hard and things like that. And then their third guy is Kyle Lowry, who although Kyle Lowry is no longer an all-star level player or anything like that, he's still a very good veteran leader to have, who's experienced a lot in the NBA and really rounds out that big three very well, and gives them much needed veteran experience when it comes to playoff basketball. And that is just their star talent. Where the actual power for this roster comes in is when you start looking at all the great role players they have. As obviously to start off, they have Tyler Herro, who is a very borderline role player, because he is a very good one and is debatably the best player off of anyone's bench in the entire NBA. He's going to get you around 20 to 16 points every single game. If he's coming off your bench and if he's starting, he'll probably give you around 20 to 22 points a game every single game. That's how good Tyler Hero is. He's legitimately one of the better offensive players in the entire NBA, and is extremely, extremely important to what the Miami Heat do. And he has the exact same mindset to where that he thinks it's him against the world, and that is perfect for this Heat team. And then they also have players like Max Strus, who's a very solid 3-and-D player and very solid. Duncan Robinson, who although fell out of the rotation in the playoffs, is a dead-eye shooter that they do love to have on the team. Then they have other players like Caleb Martin, who's very solid. He can do a little bit of everything, plays a lot of defense, plays hard. Victor Oladipo, who's very, very good off the bench when he's hot. He's not the old self he was with Indiana, but he is still very, very solid, very, very good off your bench, and has the exact same working hard mentality that the Miami Heat love to build with. So I think that is extremely important that pretty much from top to bottom, their entire roster has the same mindset and want to play in the same type of way. So I think for sure the Miami Heat have a very specific way they want to build their team, and that is what they stick to pretty much exclusively when it comes to team building. And due to that, I think it has looked very, very good on their track record for the past 3 years, and their team have always been very, very competitive for those past 3 years since they started really building like this. So I think for sure the Miami Heat are going to continue to be a very good team out of the Eastern Conference every single year, and I just think it's a little bit of time for them to start getting the respect that they rightfully deserve after having as much success as they have had year after year after year. So for sure, I think it's time that the media gives them some respect. But unfortunately, guys, that's my first video. So comment below, do you agree with me? Do you think the Miami Heat are disrespected? Who do you think is the most disrespected team in the NBA? On your thoughts in the comment section below. And if you like me, put a like button, subscribe button, mean the absolute word to me. And I hope you have a blessed day, because I have a blessed day. So you have a blessed day. All glory to God. See you in the next video. Goodbye. Boo. Blah.